Oh, it's nice to see all those smiling faces out there. We will call to order the, excuse me, Western Water Regular Board Meeting of April 1, 2026, and that's not a joke. May we have roll call, please? Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning. Director Gardner.
I am here.
Director Torres. Director Denstedt.
Present.
Director Risby.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. President Roten.
And I also am here. Good morning.
Good morning. President Roten, you do have a quorum today.
Okay, thank you. I would like to invite up Victor Cano, Application Specialist for Information Services Department, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Look at, he's already up there.
Cover all my parts. Okay. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I was, wait, I was trying to, I was trying to sit
Thought I was
down.
free.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. I've been with the district for about 19 years. I'm in the IS department, and well, my name is Victor Cano. So.
All right, thank you.
Sit over here.
I used to sit where Justin sat for a long time.
Really? Oh, my gosh, wow. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to public comments. Tammy, do you have any public comments today?
Thank you, President Roten. Yes, I do. Before we start, we did not receive any written comments. I do have a request to speak in the audience. At this time, I will call up the Mirandas to the podium. Directors, on your seat, you do have a packet of photographs that the Mirandas have brought, and those will be made post-meeting part of the board packet and available to the public should they wish to have a copy of them. They will be made part of the permanent board record. Mr. and Mrs. Miranda, you will have a customary 3 minutes. If it goes a little bit longer, we will be lenient, but you may begin.
Okay, hi. Hello, yeah, well, I guess my wife doesn't want to come up here with me. Yeah, we were in the program, the rebate program for the landscaping, and so I guess we're like the guinea pigs for that situation there. And as far as we're concerned, it was a lot of work, but well worth it. A very good rebate situation for us. Unlike most couples that probably would get this program going, we did have the ability to do it ourselves, most of it, and we did have some of the product already available, where maybe someone else wouldn't have the product available and maybe too old to do it, or just too rich, or so rich they could afford a landscaper to do it. Either way, you know, right? But it was very, how can I put it? It came out to be something really good. And in the end, the project, the way it looks, we keep getting compliments from the HOA. The neighbors go by and just keep giving us compliments. The only little problem that I have with it is that a lot of the young children end up going inside of it because they think it's like Disneyland or something, you know? Yeah, so, yeah. And I don't like kids in the yard, so, you know, I'm one of those old men, that type, you know? But, yeah, that's true, that's true. And that's the other thing. The grass was really wasting water, a lot of water, and a lot of maintenance, you know. We're even saving money now because we even let the gardener go, because that's basically what they were doing. So now I have to trim the bushes myself and that kind of deal. I could say a lot more about it, but it would go past the 3 minutes. I don't want to get beat up. So if you guys have any questions that I can answer offhand, you know, about the project and what kind of things happen there for us.
Well, we so appreciate you coming here in person this morning and the beautiful pictures. And oh my gosh, I have a feeling they don't do it justice. But as you were speaking, I thought, well, this is, and you did it yourself, this is a real grassroots project where you pulled out the grassroots.
Technically, that's correct, yeah.
So thank you for doing that and being such a great example.
Well, I'd like to thank the board, in particular Craig, you know, this gentleman here and this lady
Ken.
here, you know, right?
And Allison.
Just fantastic help for all of us. We couldn't have done it without them, so we appreciate it.
Nice.
Thank you,
Well, you're an inspiration,
thank you.
so thank you. Okay, does that complete our public comments for this morning?
It does, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the consent calendar, A through D. Does anyone have anything they want to pull, or do we have a motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, whenever you're ready, for roll call.
Director Gardner,
Aye.
Director Denstedt,
Aye.
Director Rizvi,
Aye.
Director Roten.
Yes.
Thank you, Director Roten, you have, or, excuse me, the motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Miller, any items to be added to the agenda?
Nothing to add to the agenda today.
Okay. Then we'll move on to item 7, action agenda. And, hold on, let me turn my page. Hopefully, they're stuck together. Item A, approve a project budget increase and award a construction contract for the abandonment of 3 service connections with Eastern Municipal Water District at March Air Reserve Base.
Well, this may sound very familiar to you. We heard it on Monday. And we don't normally bring it concurrently to both committee and the board, but we canceled our previous engineering committee. So we would have presented it there, but that's okay. It didn't seem to have a lot of questions yesterday. So Derek, if you could run through the item again, that would be great.
No problem. Good morning. This item is concerning the abandonment of 3 service connections with Eastern Municipal Water District at the March Air Reserve Base and the surrounding areas. Back in 2015, Western Water and Eastern entered into an interagency agreement establishing a long-term water supply strategy for the March Air Reserve Base area. This agreement included construction of a new intertie connection, which has since been completed, and the agreement obligated Western Water to subsequently abandon 3 redundant Eastern-owned service area connections at Alessandro, White Gates, and at East Gate at Heacock Street. You can see them on the map. The time has come to fulfill that obligation. Staff set out to seek bids for the project by publicly advertising on Planet Bids in December of 2025. 5 bids were received in January, and staff has determined that J.A. Salazar Construction and Supply Corporation of La Habra submitted the lowest responsive and responsive bid at an amount of $398,853. The total project budget, including design, construction, contingency, and inspection, comes to $621,700. Because the originally allocated $25,000 of the startup funding is insufficient to cover the full construction costs, we're requesting a capital budget increase of $596,700 through the system improvement funds of the March East Water Fund. I'm asking the committee to recommend to the full board, I'm sorry, that's from my write-up from just 2 days ago. I'm asking the board to approve a budget increase to that full $621,700 and award the construction contract to J.A. Salazar Construction. And we're scheduled to begin in May, and we're hoping to wrap up by August of this year, and that's why we're doing this concurrently. And this concludes my presentation, and I urge your support.
Okay, any questions? Go ahead.
Just a few questions that I have this morning. Thank you. In regard to the increase to the budget, I'm just going through, it says that we have sufficient funds. Is that correct? Are they being pulled out of reserves? Or are they being moved over into something else? How are we accounting for that?
Yes, they're being pulled out of reserves, and there's sufficient replacement reserve funding.
Okay, thank you. And is anybody from the construction company with us today?
I cannot see right now. They were actually here on Monday, but I don't see
Yeah,
them today.
I'm
Oh,
here.
good.
My name is
Yes.
Jesse, and I'm J.A. Salazar.
Perfect. Well, we welcome any comments that you have. I'm just kind of curious if you were able to review all the plans, if you saw any problems or deficiencies, because I like on-time and on-budget projects.
We did review the plans. We don't see any issues, but things come up in the field, so, but based on the plans, no, there's no issues.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, anyone else? Question? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ready for the vote.
Director Gardner.
Aye.
Director Torres.
Yes.
Director Dinstedt.
Aye.
Director Risby.
Aye.
President Roten.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, directors.
Okay, thank you, Derek. We'll move to item B, receive and file sorry, the Community Facilities District's fiscal year 2024, 2025 annual audited financial statements and the independent auditor's report.
Spencer's here to present this to the board. This did not go to committee because of the timing, and so we're straight to the board, so a little unusual for us, but I think it's okay. Spencer's going to tell us it's okay. We'll all be fine.
It is okay. And really the reason for that, as a bit of background, is we run through our Western Water audit, and that is of the highest priority. The goal is usually by the end of the calendar year for the fiscal year, so by December. And then for the CFDs, our primary goal is really to meet our disclosure requirements, which was actually yesterday, but we met all those requirements a few weeks ago after these financial statements were audited and issued. And so this item addresses the fiscal year 2025 annual financial statement audits for the Murrieta Community Facilities Districts, or CFDs 88-1 and 99-1. As a reminder, the CFDs are separate legal entities from Western Water, and that's really why we have to separate the annual financial statements from Western Water, and they require their own independent audits. The fiscal year 2025 audits were completed by Western Water's external auditors, Clifton Larson Allen LLP, commonly referred to as CLA. CLA issued an unmodified or clean audit opinion on the financial statements for both CFDs. This means the auditors found the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with accounting standards and did not identify any material weaknesses or deficiencies in internal control. The CFDs continue to operate as intended, with special assessment revenues supporting debt service. And as a reminder, the final maturity date of the bonds for both CFDs is October of 2030. Staff recommends that the board receive and file the audited financial statements for CFD 88-1 and 99-1 for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. And I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, any questions? I actually have one, but it doesn't look like anyone else does. It's agenda page 124. It's the second page of the, actually it might be the third page of the letter to the board. Independent Auditor's Report. It's addressed to the Board of Directors. The very last item before the signature is required supplementary information. And if I read that correctly, it said that we did not supply, it didn't affect the audit, but we didn't supply that information. Am I misunderstanding something?
Yes, there's a section that you'll find in our main audit report, which is called Management Discussion and Analysis. It's when we go through and compare last year versus the year before and describe all of the variances. Because this is such a straightforward financial statement, we don't go through the same effort, so they were just disclosing that wasn't in there, but it's not required to be in there.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, it made it sound like everything was okay, but I just was, thank you for clarifying why it wasn't in there. And one other question on, it's page 161 of the agenda, and again, it's another letter to the Board of Directors. It's attachment 3, and the second page of attachment 3. We have requested certain representations from management that are included in the management representation letter dated March 6th, but I didn't see that letter in here unless I missed it.
No, we don't typically include that. It's a letter coming from Craig and myself that says, yes, we believe in the numbers and we own our responsibility as management over internal controls and all the different processes.
Okay. All right, those are, go ahead.
One clarifying question, and this is just in relationship to the maturity date of October 2030, does that mean that that's the last time it will be placed on the tax roll for collection, or is it going to be placed 2029 and concluded completely and paid in October after the collection of the taxes from generally, I guess, April of when they do those?
That's a
So-
good question. And it's my understanding it'll be the 2029, because we're always receiving taxes
Yeah.
to later pay. So I think the last payment received will probably be, because we receive payments around December and April, so probably in April, to then pay the October, if I'm not mistaken. But that's usually the timeline. December and April, we're receiving the special assessment revenues to
Okay.
then pay the interest in April and the principal and interest in October. So it would occur, those receipts would occur previous to that.
So last time, technically, we would have to take action on this for the tax roll to be done would be in '29 then.
Likely, there may be some straggler reduced assessment that very last year if there's any minor amount
Got it.
that needs to be
Okay.
changed.
Nope, that's good to know. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll move
you
to
so much.
approve.
May we have a motion
Second.
and a second? May we have the vote, please?
Director Gardner.
Aye.
Director Torres.
Yes.
Director Dinstead.
Aye.
Director Risby.
Aye.
President Roden.
Yes.
Thank you.
and
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And I realized I forgot to ask for public comments on both of those items.
We had no public comments on either item.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will move on to reports. General Counsel report. Mr. Stewart, do we have a report today?
No report, but I also forgot about public comments, so we're together on that one. And apologies to the public and to the board.
No worries. And thank you for being here today. General Manager and staff reports. Mr. Miller.
Okay, I've got staff reports, but I have show and tell first. So my first report is on our exchange agreement with Water Authority. So that was great. We had a great event here. Water Authority came up and did their presentation. We had a great event the next day down there where Met was. And Met has sent us an accommodation that I'll share with the president. So Met generated this on their own, and maybe afterwards we could take a
Yeah,
picture of
we
it
should
with the
do
whole
that.
board out front.
Yep. There, I'll pass that down. Yeah, it does. Fozzie wore just the right thing today.
I know. I don't usually get show and tells with my report, so
Yeah.
this is good.
And there should be, I'm pretty sure there was a picture taken of us receiving that.
At the
the-
event,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
somewhere.
We'll take a picture with the whole board.
somewhere
Yeah,
there's a
we
picture.
thought it'd be
Yeah.
good to have the whole board.
Do you want to see this, or do you want to look at it later?
Yes, I've seen a lot of these.
But not a special one with our name on it.
So as we've finalized that agreement, as you'll recall, that agreement allows us to exchange 10,000 acre feet, get 10,000 acre feet of exchange water from Water Authority through 2047, and then option to extend that to 2077. So this is a long-term deal. It was really important to me to make sure that we had an opportunity to offer our member agencies to join in on that deal. So just reporting back that we met with all of our member agencies last week. They have 120 days to opt in. And so we wanted to make sure, because it'll be, they gotta go back to their board, we gotta generate agreements, Holland will be back to work again, making agreements for whoever wants to join, but we wanted to make sure that we threw that out. We had a couple-hour meeting, really briefing them on all the details. Our board's heard it a few times now. It is complex, and it is a big commitment on their part, and we're offering them to kind of jump in on the 10,000 acre feet per year for the full term of the agreement. We're not offering them the opportunity to buy water in like spot timing when they want it. You're in for the whole deal, or you're not. And so we've already heard back from one of our agencies that said we're in for this amount, so that's good. So that's really important to us. And then, as you know, we also got 30,000 acre feet of water that we're pre-purchasing, and then we can determine the delivery of that water through the term of the agreement through 2047. So that's great. That was I would say monumental deal for Western. Their Water Authority's PR team and our PR team did a fabulous job of sharing that information with the public, and we've had a really good response on social media and on our various networks. I know LinkedIn was kind of on fire over the whole thing. I was side note, I was looking at our post and the impressions that we got, and I don't know, we're like 150 or 70 impressions, and I was just looking at the people who have responded, and it's kind of the who's who in water.
Nice.
So it was really cool. So excited about that. Changing gears, I was at the California Municipal Utilities Association Annual Conference last week. So as the board president, I got to do opening comments and then run the board meeting, which happened on the Tuesday. Really, really good conference, highest turnout they've ever had, most new participants they've ever had, first timers. They called them first timers. They had to wear a special tag on their badge that said I'm a newbie. But a lot of emphasis on the collaboration between water and power. We're trying really hard to stop this, hey, at CMUI, we don't care about what happens at water, and then the water people are like, hey, who cares what happens on power? We're turning that dynamic that, these are both very, very important life-sustaining activities, and we need to be talking about it together. So there was a lot of sessions about that. So it was really good, really interesting conference, very successful. Career events in Riverside. This is something that we've shared with the board before. We had a busy couple weeks, last 3 weeks actually. We've had members of our HR team, our operations, engineering, and customer experience teams have been to Martin Luther King High School, Riverside Unified School District Junior and Senior Career Day at Cal Baptist, and Chemawa. We were there.
It sounds like there's a lot of ways
We were
to
also
say
there
that.
at the junior high. So I want to thank Chelsea, Junior Olivio, Ken Smith, Lindy Lewis, Brandon Munoz, Jack Baker, Albert Magione, Michelle Marquez, Alfredo Mondragon, Alex Garcia, Maribel Aramis, and Brandon Castaneda. These people all attended all these things and talked to the kids, and they do a great job. They're really proud of being Western employees in their careers, and it's really fun to watch them work with the kids. So just reporting out, it's hard to try and get to the kids, and so I really appreciate our team pushing hard to get us out there so kids can learn about the great career opportunities there are in water. We talked about valves at the engineering committee. I want to report that our GIS system project in Marietta is just completed. So, we were talking about, well, how do we find these valves and how do we know where they are? Well, we had actually had to hire a consultant to go out and locate all these things. So they're locating field valves into the computer system and all of our other facilities. So that project is complete, done on time, on budget. That's always good news. And now they go over to March, and they do it at March, which will be hard because there's a lot of really old facilities that were built way before we had GIS, and a lot of things that we didn't necessarily get notified of long ago and far away of these projects, and then all of a sudden infrastructure just appears out of nowhere. So we're taking this very seriously. We're trying to get it all in our GIS system so we know where the facilities are out there.
Nice.
So that's the next step. Metropolitan budget and rates. This is a big week. This will be voted on by the board on the 14th. So we've had board budget workshops that director was at. Last week, we had member agency manager workshop following that last week that I was at. Our staff has been very engaged. We've worked really hard behind the scenes to coalesce around an alternative. So it's hard to get a whole bunch of agencies to all agree on something. So we've been working really hard on that. We'll see what gets written into the board letter, which we'll probably see next week. The Met staff asked the member agency managers to try and coalesce around one option. So one option comes to the board. I don't know that we're going to get there, but there were basically 4 options that were presented at the board workshop. San Diego had one option, and MODOC kind of had another option that was kind of the MODOC Western Eastern option. We've worked really hard, and San Diego and us have agreed to one option. So we've taken 2 options down to 1 option. There's still one more out there that is very, very similar to ours. And so I hope that all gets coalesced into one option for the board's consideration, but we'll see. It might be 2 options. That isn't just a couple of highlights. There's a couple, hot topics. One is property tax. So our recommendation increases the AV property tax from 0.007 to 0.0085. So we think it's better to match fixed revenue to fixed expenses on the state water project. So we tried pushing that 2 years ago to get there. It didn't get support. We're trying again. We have a lot of support this time. Met has a capital budget proposal from staff of $950 million. That's it? That's a lot of work. That's more than they normally budget. A lot of that is based on refurbishment and building resilience in their existing system. As Shivaji has come in at Metropolitan, he has spent a lot of time out in the field, reviewing facilities, talking to operators, and really getting a boots on the ground feel for how their system, the state of their system. And he's come back and said, we need more money and more people. We're not adequately maintaining our system. And, we talk a lot about water supply projects, but water supply projects are useless if you can't move water in the pipes. And so there's been a lot of effort there. Yeah, Fazia.
So is this a budget just for concurrent projects, or is it new projects as well?
It'll be new projects also. It'll be a mix. So, but that's a big number. And so there's been a lot of talk about lowering that. So there's been proposals that wanted to lower it from $950 million to $800 million. Our proposal is trying to move it to $875 million, which is still an enormous capital budget. And the engineering team, through the engineering committee, we're suggesting that they review the prioritization of the $875 million of projects to make sure the most important ones are getting built first. And if, some have to get pushed off 2 more years, then that may be all that we can afford. In alignment with that, they also met staff. Shivaji said, we need staffing positions. And so we've kind of coalesced around 79 new staff positions at Metropolitan. Conservation funding, we're proposing it to maintain the same, what Met staff proposed in the budget. However, we've asked that the conservation program be reevaluated in the next 6 months by staff because there's quite a bit of discussion about maybe the existing program isn't meeting the most important needs right now in conservation. Given that Met sales are the lowest they've been, we've had surplus water, Met storage is higher than it's ever been, and so does our message, should it really be turn off your water? Or should we be, I think we should be spending a lot more time and effort into discussing not conserving water, but the value of water to Southern California and putting money in that. So we'll see how that goes. Then the more controversial thing is there's $150 million in the budget for the Pure Water project. That is going to be a really interesting discussion for the directors. We're proposing that that be reduced to just the funds necessary to match all of the grants that are in play. We don't want to not maximize the grant funding. But our consensus opinion is that that project still has not been approved by the board. We shouldn't be spending more money on a project that hasn't been approved. There's things like final design and property purchases in that $150 million that, to me, don't make sense without the project being approved through the CAMP process and then brought to the board for full approval. At that point, put that back in the budget. But right now, we don't think it should be in the budget. So huge amount of discussion. I think it's going to happen at the Finance Committee prior to the board meeting and then at the board meeting. So I plan on being up there. I want to hear it firsthand. So it'll be really interesting. We'll have a long discussion at the Inland Empire Orange County Caucus next week in preparation for the following week's vote. So that's Met. Director will share more from her perspective and her Met report, I'm sure. Other upcoming things, Director Denstead and I are going to be at Rancho tomorrow. They've asked us to come and give an update on Western, so we'll do that tomorrow morning. I've been invited on the 8th by Secretary Crowfoot to participate in his show. I'm not sure what his show is. It's I think it's a podcast, basically, that we're going to talk about implementation of SB 72 and modifying the California Water Plan. So I think it's myself and Carla Namath are going to be on that show, so I'm really excited about that. That'll be a virtual event at noon on the 8th.
Can we get a link to that?
Of course, we will send that around. And with that, I'll be happy to answer questions. That's all I had to report.
Okay, any questions? I don't see any. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Not much going on, though, right? Oh, goodness.
There's, I'll say something else. I don't want to steal all of Director Denstead's thunder, but we're in, at Met, I'm talking about these budget options, and we're in such a better place this year than we were 2 years ago when this happened. There was no consensus on anything, and I want to credit the Met staff. They started proposing information for the budget in September, because they didn't want the same thing to happen again. So they started feeding the board, hey board, here's information. And I think most of the board members were like, oh my gosh, we're 6 months away from having to decide on this. Why are you telling us so early? And so they've done a really good job in providing all this information and starting to, kind of hone it down into some really viable options. And I think the good news from the GM perspective is that these options are all really close together. So no matter what the board, unless something comes out of left field, there's not a lot of financial impact to go with, A or B. So I think the board, the Met staff has done a really good job, and Shivaji's been driving that. And, it's tough as the new kid to come in and have a budget in your first 3 months. And, and rates. So they've done a really good job. All right, now I'm done.
We'll move on to director's comments and requests. Do we have a SAPA report?
SAPA meets next week.
Okay. And now Brenda, Metropolitan, do we have anything left to hear?
I know, right? It's, the budget is always interesting discussions, and it always is something that brings a lot of people's points. To Craig's point from our budget discussions and our adoptions from 2 years ago, we've had turnover on the board, which is pretty frequent at this point. We have several people that have changed out. Some of what we called the old guard has left, and new people are coming in to try to learn and ask more questions about the process. I think there's been a lot more, and to Craig's credit, I think there's been a lot more discussion over the business model and talking about how are we going to be fiscally responsible with our modeling. So, and one of the points that we really want to drive home is the fact that the ad valorem is collected specifically for the State Water Project costs. It's not used anywhere else. And there was a very large gap of hundreds of millions of dollars between what that cost was that was being charged to Metropolitan and what that cost is being charged to Metropolitan versus what we were collecting for a very long time. And so, when you've got that, how do you balance the budget? Well, then you have to increase it in other places, which is rates and a variety of other things, that lose out because money's being shifted. So I think because we've had so much discussion over the camp process for the last 4 years that then kind of dovetailed into the business model to talk about what really should we be looking at overall moving forward. People are going with more of the common sense approach of, well, gee, it doesn't make sense if we don't collect what we're spending. So I think that's been an interesting shift. I think that, to Craig's comment, staff coming to us and starting to talk about some of the challenges early on so that people could ask questions early on and not get so completely overwhelmed with the budget in just a couple of workshops, because it's a lot of information to digest. I mean, even as they're bringing these workshops forward, I think the last packet that we received is like 1,200 pages.
Wow.
I mean, it's
Just for the work.
it's a lot of documents, and a lot of background and a lot of things that are going forward. I think pure water is going to be probably the thing that gets the most discussion on do we, don't we? And part of the staffing that it started up, the number started much higher, but one of the staffing concerns were 8 dedicated positions for pure water. Well, if we're not to that point of approving stuff, why would we want to bring staff on that may not, we don't like doing layoffs. We don't like sending people away and saying, sorry, we've changed our mind, and, or trying to figure out then how do we fold them into the organization somewhere else that they may or may not fit, those types of things. So it becomes a question of, also what Craig has talked about, why are we going through and allocating, millions of dollars for property acquisition when we haven't decided to do this project? Because if we decide not to do it, then it becomes surplus, and then we've got to go through a whole nother process to try to, surplus the property back and, under all the government code requirements for a public agency. So, so there's some definite talking points for things. I think to Craig's point, I think there's more meeting in the middle and negotiating fine points. And really, at this point, I don't think for some of the other minute things to move back and forth, it's not going to do a huge impact on rates, which is what we've been concerned about, you know. And if we move forward with what we're talking about on our compromises, and if it stays, you know, within that, you know, a little here, a little there, it's not going to make a big deal. And we've already reduced what the anticipated rate adjustment would be by bringing it down from, what, 9.5 to 6.5?
The initial proposal from Met staff was 9.5%.
Yeah.
This, our proposal would get us to about 6%. So that
So
lowers the rate increase by 3.5% per year.
per year, which is big. And that's something that, you know, then we've got to make adjustments for, especially if there's big stuff. And, you know, going forward, we've, you know, talked about what the 10-year forecasts look like and how they've not really stayed what the forecast is. It's gone like this and then gone like this and then gone like this. So we're really trying to predict more fixed revenues to try to steady that line so that all the member agencies can then, you know, just like we do, adjustments. We have, make accommodations when that budget comes out and what water sales and purchases are going to cost. So I think at this point, I'm very optimistic that we're going to land on something that we can all live with here at this board. Again, I'm prepared to make, you know, the minor adjustments and, okay, you don't want to do so much here, but we're going to adjust it over here and they're small enough that it's not going to impact us to devastation. So, it's definitely within a tolerable range that we can live with. So, I'm hopeful.
Good. That's a good way to be.
There it is.
Okay, thank you. Chino Basin Water Master, Mr. Gardner.
Water Master met late last month, and there were two significant items that were taken up. First is, it's just an interesting historic tidbit. The San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians is purchasing some water that is in storage in the basin by another party. And so for the first time, we have a Native American tribal organization as a member of the appropriative pool and a holder of water. They don't have independent water rights, but they have purchased water. So that's an interesting first. The band itself they are seeking official federal recognition of their independent tribal status, which is pending. I expect they'll get it. They don't turn those things down to speak of. They also, long-term discussion on this, the appellate court decision said that the assessment packages for 2 fiscal years were done incorrectly. They didn't properly charge for some water that was pumped from the dry year yield program. And the appellate court said, go fix those. The trial court said, yes, fix them in this way, just make corrections. It was suggested that the water should be put back. The trial court did not require that. So there are still those who are suggesting it should be put back, but the board did approve, corrected an amendment, assessment packages for fiscal 21-22 and 22-23. I expect those to be challenged by those who think the water should get put back. So the judge will get to decide, and then we'll see if the appellate court gets to decide if the judge was right. So that's ongoing, but we met the deadline to get an amended package or amended packages to the trial court which was March 31st. We met that deadline. And then the last item was a somewhat heated discussion. Watermaster has got its own set of conflict of interest rules. Being an arm of the court, they aren't subject to the Brown Act or FPPC requirements or a whole lot of other things that we here are. The only conflict for a board member is if you stand to have a significant personal economic impact. So if they're doing something on your property, that would count. But for example, what doesn't count as a conflict is if you are representing a party that is in litigation with the Watermaster, and there's a closed session to discuss strategy on that litigation, if you are filling a position that would put you in the closed session, if you're a board member or a pool chair, then you get to be in that argument or in that discussion of how Watermaster is planning to defend itself against the lawsuit that you filed against them. And of course, you're not allowed to talk about it, and we know how well that works. So it's a unique thing about Watermaster. It makes no sense from a legal perspective that you would do that, except that it is legal. So the discussion got a bit heated between some of the parties. It's driven by Ontario largely. They sent a letter saying we should do all these things, including make them file for Form 700s. And Laura will resign as alternate if that's required. So staff did an analysis, kind of an update of what the rules are, what they say, how they apply, and provided that to the board as information. At this point, there is not a plan to delve into them, although there is still pressure to do that. So we'll see what happens. And other than that, everybody loves everybody at Watermaster.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I love going around.
Okay. That's an interesting way to interpret it. CDA tomorrow.
Yeah, CDA is tomorrow.
Okay. And
Rick
how
Ra-
about Rick?
RICRA will meet in May, because it's a quarterly meeting.
Okay. Do you have that date handy, or I probably have it somewhere. That's okay.
I'll give it.
Okay, Brenda is very anxiously awaiting to give her WRCOG report.
Oh, boy. It's a report, all right. WRCOG the executive committee held a special meeting last Friday on March 27th. And the report out of closed session was that the executive committee voted to dismiss the executive director. And that is all I have to report. Thank you.
Okay, wow, short. Okay, thank you. And Sarah.
Last meeting, I had to leave early, so I was not able to give an update, so I'll share some updates. There was an election of officers, and Director Plummer is now the chair, and I'm the vice chair. And
Good for you.
and then we had a couple of items. We approved a sewer system management plan. It is an adoption, it's a requirement, and it's a requirement to do so every 6 years, and last one done was 2019. So we approved that. There was an update to SORA's investment policy to align with some current laws, so there were some minor changes that we approved. Item C was a contract award for a planned roof replacement of 5 treatment plant buildings. So that was approved. Item D was to concur in nomination for Director Morris to continue to be on JPIA's captive insurance board. And Western had already approved it, so it was approved by our board as well. And there were some updates to resolutions for bank and LAIF signing authority to make sure that, the staff names and titles are correct. So we approved that. And then the Executive Advisory Committee had reviewed the approval of the draft 5-year capital improvement plan and proposed capital budget projects for inclusion in the fiscal year 2026 and 27 budget. So we approved that. And there was an update on capital projects, and that was it. So it was a good, productive meeting.
I was gonna say, that was,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
quite a
the
bit.
yeah.
Worth the wait.
Yes.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Anything from Aqua?
Aqua, I do have a Region 9 meeting today, so I'll have perhaps more next meeting. And just a reminder, we have spring conference coming in Sacramento next month. So hopefully you're signed up for that and have everything arranged, because it's probably sold out and booked at this point. So, that's kind of the way Aqua goes.
Yeah,
So, and that's all I have.
okay. Director's comments. Director Gardner, do you want to start?
I have nothing.
Okay. And Director Dennstedt?
No, not today.
No? Director Torres?
Not today.
Vice President Rossi?
Not today.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, I won't hold this up too long, but.
April Fools, I'm just kidding.
What did you say?
I said
Oh, April Fools. Oh, good one. I just wanted to share a little bit. I think I said at our last meeting, alluding to the upcoming agreement with San Diego, that I'm very honored to have been to be in the position of president while that's taking place, acknowledging full well it was not me, but I was the figurehead, I guess, that got to kind of stand up for it. And thank you to all our board members, to all our staff, for everything that went into that. It was so inspirational to me attending. First of all, our board meeting was great, and I thought, and then heading down to San Diego and attending their board meeting and seeing that, they're a whole different organization than we are with their, 34 members or something like that, with the big horseshoe, with another horseshoe inside of it, with all these folks. And getting to know their chair a little bit through this process, and their general manager, was just an added bonus. And when they did their roll call vote, a few of the members they're directors, right? Yeah, a few of their directors you must put your light on or something if you want to say something, I guess. So they went through, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 of them maybe that said all very positive things. And then came the roll call vote. And just to hear all the way around that room, yes, yes, yes. It made me choke up that day. I can relive it as I'm explaining it, but if this was a historic agreement, and that word was used a few times, and I know in the water world we appreciate that and we realize what goes on behind the scenes in these types of things. Publicly, average Joe customer probably thinks, oh, that's cool, if they even know about it. and I get it, and part of our job is to supply that water clean, safe, reliable, all the time, 24/7. But this agreement, and I think too, because we were the first, it made it even more special, because we're setting this trend and this bar for the others that come after us, and there will be other ones. But being the first of something is usually a special honorary kind of agreement. So I felt like not only do we have this amazing agreement that's going to provide stability for us, for our ratepayers, we also have a great relationship with San Diego County Water Authority. We have a working relationship with them, and they're big. You know, they have a lot of influence. They touch a lot of lives down there, and a lot of residents and customers, and all of it. It's that big water picture, which I'm so encouraged between SB 72 passing, which is statewide, and then this happening, which is region-wide. Water is finally breaking out of its barriers, these imaginary lines that we've had in the past, and doing this whole regional look and how important that is. And then cultivating those relationships and those partnerships to continue to do things like this. So I just want to once again thank the board for the opportunity to happen to be in the right place at the right time for this to happen, and acknowledging full well it was not me, but I will tell you that it was a wonderful experience for me to be able to go down there and do that and speak a little bit at the press conference. And thank you to Grace for being there to, this is probably gonna sound silly, but to hold my purse and to help me with my comments, and to run a little interference when I was approached by a reporter. And I didn't even realize I was, what was happening. And he starts asking me questions, and I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then I hear Grace whisper, and our ratepayers. And I'm like, oh yeah, I almost forgot to put that in there. So thank you so much for that. It was really a great experience. So congratulations to all of us and to San Diego as well. And I look forward to seeing who all else they're going to bring into that fold with this water. This is a huge opportunity for our area. So, and the only other thing for any and all of you that might celebrate Easter, happy Easter on Sunday. I know a lot of folks, get together with families, and maybe even my grown kids for the last 5 years, they've asked me for an Easter egg hunt. And I'm like, you guys are adults. They still, yes. So, plastic eggs, put a few dollars in them, and they go out in the yard. We tried candy, it melts. And so looking forward to that, but I hope you all enjoy the weekend coming up. And with that, do we have any requests for future agenda items? No? Okay. And our next meeting is Wednesday, April 15th. Tax day for most of us, unless you ask for an extension. Which, yes. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. And funny, we had one board meeting on April Fool's Day and one board meeting on tax day.
Yeah.
So,
I feel bamboozled.
yeah. So with that, we'll adjourn at 10:28.